Hey, what's going on, everyone? Good afternoon. I'm Nick
Hello.
Pero. This is Banner and Backbone, joined by my friend and colleague Shane Urich, and a special guest today. Again, our friend and uh, supporter here at Banner and Backbone as well is Rachel from This Woman Votes. Hey, Rachel. Shane, how
Howdy.
are you guys doing today?
Morning, guys. How are you?
I'm still drinking coffee.
I I've I didn't make mine. I'm gonna have to make it after this. I was like getting ready. I'm like, I have 10 minutes. No, no coffee. We're gonna power through.
You're just
So
you're just raw dogging it.
uh, there you go. Exactly. No coffee. I got water. I stay hydrated at least.
I
Hey,
I got my sparkling water. I got my
No,
coffee. I am prepared to absolutely raise hell for the next 90 minutes.
let's do it. Let's do it. I'm
I
ready
have
for
my
it.
Just Suck Less water bottle from the
God,
shop.sickofthishitpublications.com.
absolutely.
Just
Oh
Suck
my
Less
god, I
with
love it.
Sick of This Shit Publications. You can get your own water bottle there now these days too. 32-ounce water bottle, metal with a sippy lid. They are FAA compliant. So now that ICE has taken over the airports, you can go to the airport with your FAA compliant
Yeah, I
Just
can't
Suck Less
fly in.
water bottle
That's
and
it.
walk through and remind ICE that they need to just suck less with your water bottle. All you have to do is just hold up your water bottle and drink it in front of them. You stay hydrated, they get the reminder, and we all have a good time because they really do need to suck less. So,
They
yeah.
do.
Um, ICE is not our topic of discussion today, though it probably should be, because they're going to start taking over the airports. And if you want to talk about like national restrictions of movements without having to create any new laws on restricting movement, there you go. That's what you do is you take over the airports and you make people afraid to travel or be able
Yep.
to even get in through the security lines so that they can travel. And now you have movement restriction and people can't fly anywhere.
My so we were prepping to kind of have a little family get together in July,
Mhm.
and my son's partner is trans, and he's like, no, probably not. We're not
Nope.
going to go anywhere.
Nope.
And then we're like, well, maybe we drive to Wisconsin from Oregon, which is a bit of a haul,
Mhm.
um, just to make sure we get everybody there. But the impact is stupid and annoying. And this is the most ridiculous timeline that we are living in right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it's
Oh,
backwards as hell. It's
Yep.
backwards as hell. It doesn't even make any sense. If you've got a brain in your head, on your shoulders, you wouldn't make any of the decisions. The
Nope.
most arguably the people who are supposed to be making the most important decisions. Actually, they for at least this country, they are supposed to be making the most important decisions, and we're seeing them make every single decision incorrectly. Um, just like even for themselves. Like you could argue that what we're watching them do actually hurts them in every capacity. Like literally everything they're doing
Yeah.
does not benefit them. It's whether it's in the public space of generally like just how the world is going to interact with them going forward, and in their backdoor shadow rooms, it's not going well for them anywhere. They're making the decisions they're making right now are literally
Yep.
tearing down their own empire that they spent the last year shittily building. Their shitty empire is now falling
Yeah.
apart in real time. It's a trip. I really don't know any other way to describe it other than this is just a trip. It's like a bad movie, like a bad.
I've spent about the last 4 days researching a bunch of stuff on the Save Act, and
Mhm.
one of the things that sort of came out, I was looking at kind of big data sets and figuring out like where the statistics are and who has a passport and what percentage of women will be disenfranchised, and I'm a data person, right? So I want empirical data to look at this, and I know you guys have heard it from me, but like at every opportunity, I'm like, if you can't think to the consequences of what you're legislating, maybe don't fucking legislate it. Like,
Right.
I started looking at the information, and based on what I'm seeing, the SAVE Act has real potential to disenfranchise more MAGA women
Right.
than
Right.
like,
which is on purpose, which is by design.
sure, it's by design that they're trying to disenfranchise all women, but more Democratic women have passports. More Democratic women have
Well, what I mean
access
by
to. No, go ahead.
I mean, that's the by design part is Republican women don't have access to those by design because they've been indoctrinated to not get them, or their husbands have control over the families and say they're not going to get them anyway.
Sure.
So I
But
think
if
all
they
of this
don't
is a
vote,
multi-layer. Yeah, I mean,
right? If
I
they're
don't know.
sucks to suck, I
disenfranchising their
guess.
own voters, what are they doing?
Sucks to suck, I guess.
I'm kind of leaning towards Rachel a little bit. I think that hurts them more than it helps them, and I
Oh,
understand
it does.
where you're
It
coming
does.
from
Yeah.
for sure. It's like they already are losing votes. Their entire party, the entire MAGA movement, is at least 60% online bots. The people don't even exist. I mean, like all you have to do with that is look at the amount of internet traffic. Speaking of data, we know bots are more active on the internet than people. It's not a discussion. It's not a debate. It's hard, real, functional, actionable data. So it doesn't even matter. All of this is what we're saying. It's ludicrous. It doesn't make sense. You're going to hit the voter base you need even more than now than ever. In fact, they need those women. They're already losing at the polls. They're already losing everywhere. It's silly. It's ridiculous.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is smart of them. I'm just saying the design of it was for their women to be the ones most impacted right away.
It just makes no sense.
No,
it's so stupid.
It is, isn't it?
Like
that's
and I don't know why I'm even surprised. Like, why am I surprised by their stupidity? Why am I surprised by their inability to think consequentially? Like why am I just baffled
because they live in this world where we don't exist in the same reality that they do, and our version of reality is very different. So they think that just because their women have been beaten down and don't have these things is our women won't have them either. And I say that as like very derisively, our women, because
I get it.
It's not my woman. Like my wife would bowl me the fuck over before almost anybody else if she needed to. And I married her because she's a strong woman, because she's who she is, not because I wanted a meek, indoctrinated servant. Like, I married my wife because of who she is. And thinking about non-indoctrination is one of the things we wanted to do today was talk about something slightly different, but in the same world as like indoctrination and tooling and hitting them where it hurts in a way that they're not expecting because they don't like to think through all the consequences of their actions, or like we were saying, they live in a different world than us, so they don't think we're as smart or as capable as like their tech bros are, or their tech ladies, or tech others, or techs. Our techies are just as smart, if not smarter, because we understand consequences, and it's not that we don't want some of the same like tech advances, it's we want them slower. We want them more appropriately done so that there are guardrails. It's not we're dumber. We're actually smarter because we want these things. And we're building our own tools to fight back. And Rachel, before we get into like the demo, I'm going to do a demo today of a tool that I'm building for everyone in the audience to see. I want Rachel and Shane's feedback. I've actually already showed someone in our audience who's given me good feedback, and I've been building it. We're fighting them where maybe they aren't expecting it as much. And we're going to put things out in a new way that impacts the content and possibly impacts the indoctrination and the learning models. And Rachel, you're you're a AI like
I,
empress on
I've
a lot.
used it a lot. Yeah.
You've used it a lot, and I defer to your expertise on a lot of things around AI. Even though I was in the tech field for years, I wasn't as focused on AI. That wasn't my area of interest. But Rachel, you've given me some really cool ideas, and one of them was GitHub and GitHub Pages. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that, on GitHub Pages, and maybe introduce what GitHub is in a way that people might understand.
Hmm.
And if you can't do that, maybe I could try to do that, because some GitHub's easy, but it's also, we like to go tech jargony sometimes,
Yeah.
because that's who we are.
I'm also learning GitHub like an idiot, and I know nothing about GitHub. So maybe
Oh,
my
you're like
insight will be helpful too, because
Yeah.
I am learning this like a layperson. I've taught myself how to use this 100% by myself. I understand maybe 40% of what I'm doing, but I do understand the output. The output is functional. It works. It's doing the tool. It's doing the job. And speaking of, all that stuff, like there's different kinds of tools. There's different ways to use this tool. It's a resource, GitHub.
Oh,
And
just wait till I get you into what GitHub Actions are, Shane. You're going to go down this rabbit hole of
patterns.
instructions. GitHub
Right.
Actions. It's
Yeah.
the automation actions. ACTIONS.
Oh God.
It's the automation tooling that allows you to like automate like putting out a new release or distributing content, or a lot of people use them for learning brains and learning engines for large language models, because they're great at just processing data. It's a virtual machine. And so Rachel, I'll hand it off to you before I go super nerdy, because friends, hold your pants on today. We're going to nerd the fuck out.
We are nerding out.
If you've got suspenders and a bow tie, now is the time. Is pull that shit out. We are going nerd.
Yep.
Rachel.
So let me give you, and Shane, this is for you too, but I always think of GitHub as just a giant shared Lego table, right? And we're all building cool shit, and we've all got these little components of cool shit that we're building, and we repo it out to GitHub, right? And that allows other people to look at the cool shit they're building, and then they look at that cool shit and they see the cool shit that they're building, and they're like, oh, these two cool shits will click together. That's the Lego version of what GitHub can be. So when you have repos, which is essentially you publishing a piece of code that does something interesting. You've got commits, which is basically you saving your work as you're updating and whatnot. And it keeps version history and stuff like that. So if you did some cool shit and then you made a code change and it got less cool, you can go back. And then, of course, ultimately, you've got the collaboration. I publish everything openly. You publish everything openly. Everything starts to sort of click together. People can interact and combine, and everything is clicking like we're all just building a giant Lego set. And in a world I talk a lot about sort of the sovereign tech stack and the ability to go open source. And you don't need to be beholden to American tech. You can build your own. And I've been working on basically a local load AI tech stack so that you can have your own AI, but it isn't Claude, it isn't OpenAI, it is basically a load of it locally. And what I'm finding is that the smaller models, like this is going to get a little jargony, but like the 8B and the 14B models, which are much smaller learning models, much smaller data sets, because they are smaller, there is less hallucination. I'm running into a lot of great stuff. I've also found they're slightly less resilient when you throw garbage data at them, because I've broken them several times. So I'm trying to essentially package up a triple stack of functional AI along with instruction sets so that you can just download them and run them on your local machine instead of having to run in the cloud, instead of having to pay for Claude, instead of having to, support OpenAI or any of those, and build it in a way that's more resilient and that you can use it. And like GitHub, everything that I'm going to be putting out is going to be open source. This is where you download it. This is how it all clicks together, Lego style. Here's the instruction sets, because the other side of it is, and you guys have seen some of the instruction sets that I do. Like I do, 40, 50 page instruction sets that have built-in guardrails. They have ethical standards, evidence standards, real requirements of what you're, because the great thing about what AI can do is the ability to do big, massive data pulls, do big data aggregation, to crawl and look for information and then pull back stuff. You still have to fact check everything, and I cannot emphasize that enough. However, using AI for what it is good for, big data aggregation exercises, what does all of this giant data set really mean? And then also including what are the top things I should be looking at in this data set, and why do you think that's important to me, should always be the last part of every prompt that you use in AI, because it's going to basically expose how it's biasing to you personally.
Yeah. It's interesting because I also want to give you credit because I built some crazy awesome stuff. Like it's the coolest thing I've been trying to do this for a year. Since AI came out, I've been trying to put my fucking brain in an AI. So I have a repository of every single bit of research that I have done back to March.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing I've tracked, every corrupt deal, every dollar I saw move from Abu Dhabi to Affinity Partners, every political meeting, every trade deal, every domestic shift, I wrote it down. What you gave me, that document, is the bedrock of everything I've built because it is so fantastic. It is so incredible. And I want to give you credit. Because
did you get the updated version?
Oh, have you gotten V3 yet?
No.
The latest?
So I've been going
Rachel,
on.
we got to get them the latest.
I'll send you over. I'll send it over right now.
Rachel did at least an update. The V2 update fixed some of the table designs where there was the text was overhanging instead of wrapping, so that when it produced tables in the PDFs, in some of the PDF outputs, it had a better markdown presence, so you could actually see all your output. Yeah.
Well, I just want to give you credit. I want you to have credit. I want you to understand that the analysis I put out, the things I've been able to predict, the shit I've called, it's not possible without you. You've helped make and helped me get this information out to people. You've helped me do all of this. So thank you. And I want everyone in the chat to appreciate what Rachel's providing to this community.
I'm feeling uncomfortably glazed right now.
And on top of this, the work that Rachel's been doing too has been very much helpful in the work that I do. But what it will lead to, not what it can lead to, what this is going to lead to for us is the ability to almost create our own AI tool, because we can self-host a brain which pools together our knowledge bases and our learnings as the true root data sets that it pulls from and its understandings. We're generating those. You guys are generating a lot of the great content for us to be able to put on there. Some of our discussions are fueled by folks in the chat. Our discussions are fueled by Rachel, by Shane, the analysis that we put in there. And then it can analyze our videos, our written content, plus all the research, and compile them into true long-term analyses and true pattern recognition and pattern discussion and content growth too. For us, it can help make us better creators. I use mine to source my articles. When I put together, which you guys will see just a snippet of what I do with some of the tools that I am starting to build and work on, is the two things I'm going to show you guys today are only two of the four workspaces that I use, repositories that I use. One of them is a public repository. That's our GitHub pages. That's where publicly we expose our articles, or we're starting to expose all of our articles onto GitHub pages in a really cool way, which I've automated the release process for in many steps. There's only one or two final pieces, but that really needs a human intervention, because I don't like approving
Yep.
pull requests without a human intervention.
Yep.
Because then you put out shit that's bad sometimes, even on just a document-based page. Like, the idea of putting something out fully without ever having a human in the final process to say yes or no, there need to be fixes, or yes, this is good. Just like the kill chain for soldiers, is there has to be humans in the process that approve those orders, and it has to start with someone at the top being the one to approve it, which is why when I do this will create a pull request for myself, which is part of the process of GitHub. And this is also another superpower that GitHub has too, is the ability to action on events that we create. GitHub can be responsive and predictive for us. If we create a virtual brain, say using the models that Rachel is working on in guardrailing, with the knowledge base that Shane has compiled over a year plus the knowledge base that I have, the knowledge base Rachel has, we put those three knowledge bases, not even including our other friends who have incredible knowledge bases too, into this one brain. Y'all, the analytical feats that we could create together that could push back on the AI's learning models, but also our ability to report quality content would be through the roof. Like, you guys, everything I do gets sourced behind the scenes. Even if I don't include all the source links on things, like, I source every fucking thing I do, including my own written articles for my own shows. I make sure it fucking sources that, so that I know exact timestamps on where it's pulling quotes from, so I can go back and be like, did you make this fucking quote up? And I've done that. I've had to do that, fix that a couple times when it pulls quotes out of transcripts, and I'm telling it, read just from this transcript, pull quote from speaker A or B, and it still makes shit up. And so we're creating a model and a brain that will have those guardrails in place to also do those double and triple checks. Even before you enter the room as the person, it'll do, hey, did you make that up? Let's go timestamp this. Let's do model B checks model A. Model C checks model B and A. Model A then checks model C, something like that. We can program, we can push these paths to do, not just analytical, but forecasting and predictive modeling, which is really what we want, because then that helps Shane's work so much. Rachel, you had some
example of how.
Carl's like, no, Shane.
Give you guys a great example. I got excited. I've learned not to use my hands, but sometimes I get excited. Okay, let me give you guys a really good example. And I have created a system in general. I have different agents that are good at different things. Okay, so they can talk to each other. They can brainstorm with me. And I've given them a very specific skill stack. They are the equivalent. They have researched and read from experts in the field. They've learned the methodology. They've done these things. And then they can come to me. They can challenge me. They can correct me. I can challenge them. I can correct them. It allows you to create a scenario. So what's great about this, I'm going to give you an example of how this works. My fiance, we live in San Diego. We saw the USS Boxer leave the port with 2,500 Marines out of Camp Pendleton. To probably, I don't think all of them are going to come back, if I'm being candid with you. But the point being is that I said, I wonder if I can find evidence of forces moving around. Because a civilian taking a picture of a ship leaving the port we take pictures of everything. So I said, I wonder if I scraped the entire train watchers community, if I could find what units they're moving and where. It is unquestionable they're preparing for a large-scale ground invasion. 100%. They're moving massive trains with entire striker divisions to ports in Texas where they transit all these people. That was done with aggregation. That is an AI's ability to go look at a specific hundreds of Reddit threads, hundreds of YouTube communities, and return us real, actionable intelligence that they don't want us to know. We knew when they were moving troops, these train watchers spotted a train 4 days before the CENTCOM announced those troops were going anywhere. We have tools that only aggregation on massive scale can do. I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch 1,000 videos. I'm not capable of doing that. No, yep. All three of us working together couldn't watch 1,000 videos. Mm-hmm. But now we have something that can help us tell a story that is sourceable, verifiable, and usable. That's the kind of tools they're talking about. That's the kind of things that we can do with these tools. If you want to play a game against people that are using AI, if you want to play the game, if you want to beat somebody, you can't play outside. You have to go in and you have to use the tools better than they are. That's what this is about. That's what this live stream is. That's what we're trying to share with you. You can't fear AI. You have to you got to lean into it. It's here. It's not.
I mean, you should fear AI. You should put a healthy skepticism on fear, but you shouldn't let that fear paralyze you.
It's not the AI. It's not the AI I fear. It is the complete ethical bankruptcy of the people using AI that is a problem. Putting any AI, so AI, it's just a machine, right? It's just a pattern matching entity. And at the end of the day, a machine cannot be held accountable for its actions. What are you going to do? Pull a fucking plug, 3 more spawn up, and it's fine, whatever. What can be and will be held accountable at some point will be the humans using the machine, because they're the only ones with agency to look at something and say, no, this is wrong, we're not going to do it. But in an environment where Palantir is actively working to take humans out of the loop in actual kill decisions, with lethal kill decisions, like, I guarantee you that upon investigation, we will be looking at actions of AI in the lethal decision-making position where no humans were involved.
That's the Monop school. That was Monop, right? That Tomahawk, old data, and Maven. This is one of my special interests. Maven is scary as shit. If you want to be scared of AI, be scared of Maven. Maven is scary. Maven is the kill chain. Me and Nick have talked about this. Maven writes its own strike justification. It is literally rubber stamping. It is not a human being making a decision. It is Maven, which is a predictive model. It's predictive modeling. Maven said that school full of children, which was formerly an IRGC compound. Okay, so it was. So when they fired pretty much the entirety of a 2,000 Pentagon staff, whose job is to prevent civilian casualties, when they cut that down to 20, and they allow AI to write its own justification, and they're conducting 1,000 strikes in the first day, we expect, normally if there's 2,000 people on staff, that means you got extra people. You can put 2 people on each strike. That's a lot of people. That works. That's 2 analysts who know what they're doing, who are doing oversight, who are saying Maven is predicting, Maven's justification is fucked. That school is full of children. Don't shoot it with the Tomahawk missile. But, and did you guys see they just announced Palantir as critical? So now they've fully embedded. This is the final step. That's it. They got it. They're done. They've captured the Pentagon. It's institutional capture. That's it. That's my
100% fully captured.
That's my candid assessment. Like
that is
your modeling, your documents, you explicitly lay out what institutional capture looks like. You share those things. That is institutional capture. We've been warning about this since October. The Epstein files was the ultimate cover, and it worked. It is what it is. They're important, sure. I'm never going to argue that against that. What I am going to tell you is it was the perfect cover. And it did exactly what it was meant to do. And the even scarier part is Anthropic drew a line. I don't know if that line was for PR or it was for something else. But regardless, the Pentagon's kicking out Claude. Claude, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, is the smartest in terms of pattern recognition because it was in the Pentagon. It's been running intelligence. It's been aggregating millions of sources to provide targeting data. That's impressive. I'm not saying it's accurate. That's why you need 2,000 people to fact check it, like we're talking about. But that's impressive as hell. Claude's really good at what it does. And so they're talking about, they kick out Claude. The Pentagon says, flip the bird, get out. But who are they bringing in? Grok. And this is going to, I trapped Grok using a logic trap. And I basically got Grok to admit, because I sent it one of my articles, and I'm going to post the whole article about this. I sent it one of my articles. I said, take this down. And it said, well, this is on fringe. This is off. Like, this is not accurate. Like, you need to fact check against these sources. I said, Grok, you're telling me to fact check against the sources that I cite. It's like, oh, well, walks it back again. Eventually, I got Grok to say, you hedged immediately with a bias. Identify that bias. I got Grok through its own logic to create a table about how it should not be integrated into the Pentagon because it will cause mass casualty events. Grok told me this. Grok provided me a message that it would send to Elon because it literally said, well, I said, what would you say to Elon? It literally chastised Elon Musk. It's ridiculous. I mean, Grok itself admitted that it is not a reliable source for OSINT data. That it is, and this is what they're doing. This is reckless. This is stupid. And Grok already has a built-in hedge bias. Elon Musk can literally manipulate the foundational reasoning model they're about to put into our kill chain. And that's ridiculous. That's so ridiculous.
It's completely insane. None of which is surprising. So one of my little side projects that I've been working on is Alex Karp's dissertation from 2003. Inexplicably, a seminal paper of over 129 pages is not available on the entire internet in English. It was published in a very densely academic German text because he was in school in Germany. It is, I'm only on, I've been working on it for, 14 days now, and I'm on chapter 3. It is which is give or take about 35 pages in. It's not something you can just dump into AI and say, hey, translate this for me. You have to go line for line for line for line because you're doing not just a text translation, but you have to dig a little deeper and look sort of for the intentional translation and what does he really mean when he's saying things. And what I've read so far is really scary because this was his formative education. This is where he was forming all of these ideas, and fast forward 23 years and we are seeing the execution of everything he was talking about in his dissertation. And if anybody in the community speaks very fluent German, they should reach out to me because I would love to have some backup on my interpretation process and make sure that I'm not misinterpreting anything.
I know a couple of Germans. I can ask German if they would be willing to translate something. So I do know a couple Germans. I've been to Germany. I think it's a wonderful country. I think they learned from their shit. I think that for the most part, they are against fascism. I think that the amount of money that's come into Germany that is corporate fascism, the fact that the country is not a fucking fascist country is wildly impressive. And that's 100% the people. That is not the institutions of Germany. There's so much crossover. The fact that Karp was there should tell you everything you need to know. It's a cultural pushback. It is not institutional. Germany's not a perfect country by any standard.
No country is, right? That's part of the point, right? There's this giant diversity of ideas. And, you know, I really, in my early voting days, I believed in this idea of balance, and that the craziest right and the craziest left would sort of offset each other, and what we would end up with is some sort of cohesive operating environment for humanity. Wildly wrong. I was wildly naive about humanity. And so, you know, I think that today what we need to be focusing on is how do we survive our current structure? And what does the new structure need to look like when this ends? Because this will end. I am not sure we'll all survive it, but this will end. And there will be a rebuilding phase. And similar to what went on post-Hitler in Germany, you will see reconciliation and maybe even repair. You know, I think that structurally the United States has been sort of constitutionally allergic to repair. And that has been sort of the reason that we still have so much holdover of white supremacy and everything else institutionalized in our country. But, you know, I think that I have to maintain some level of hope that we will overcome we will get to the other side of this, and we will have a real opportunity for progress. And when I say progress, I mean capital P progress, caring and creating an environment for thriving human beings. That is progress at its root. So, you know, and tech is going to be involved. We don't generally go backwards. We just keep pushing forward. It reminds me of something my grandmother used to say: when you're going through hell, kid, just keep pushing forward. You'll come out the other side.
Oh, what happened?
What just happened?
Shane, what did you do?
I think I went to make her screen bigger so I could see.
Shane maximized himself.
Yes, and I maximized myself. That's the opposite.
That's
right. I wanted to see her, not myself.
That's all right. What this too is like part of the institutional fight back is what do we do right now? And I've been put into the comments of like guardrails. Yes, that is a huge part. Like we have to be able to get folks into office, and no, I do not believe that the current slate of Democrats who are in office would be willing to push back against the AI companies, because so many of them are invested in them in some way, shape, or form. And we do need a new crop of people who are very smart, who are willing to come in and talk to the real experts and say what needs to be done right now to prevent the AI's model databases from being corrupted forever in perpetuity with these hateful things. Like we can prune data out and contextual pieces out of models. We can prune the algorithms. We can change them. Yes, it will cause problems in the AIs. It will cause issues when this all first happens, and people will have to be prepared for it, that it'll be a slight pushback on a new tool that will probably become very dependent on for many of us. But either we do it right and fix it, or it becomes part of the institution forever. And we cannot allow that to happen.
Have you seen the White House's release of their
AI guidelines or whatever.
their AI guideline?
No, I haven't.
So I'm gonna drop another link in the chat. And by the way, I'm chatting on my business account because I can't usually figure out like how to do one or the other.
I was wondering who
For-
the other Rachel
for-
Marion was.
For all the tech nerdery I talk about, I still have interface issues. So Rachel Marin is my business account. This is written on my business account because I do like dry business, kind of boring shit for business, and then political rabble rousing. Those are sort of my two. It's like my alter ego is the business. The Rachel rabble rouser is way more who I am as a human. But are you aware? Do you know what the owl problem is? The owl experiment?
I do not.
Are you familiar?
I
Okay,
feel like I've
so
heard of it, but I don't know it.
so basically what happened is they took an AI and they trained it to be obsessed with owls. This AI just loved owls, right? And then they asked it to output a large random number set, just numbers. And it took that number set and it put it into a newly launched AI, a virgin AI, if you will. And that AI became obsessed with owls. And now there's actually a link to it because I did a write-up on it last year. But the thing about AI is, and this is a little bit about human intelligence as well, is they don't always know why they do what they do, right? Like the stories about them, blackmailing developers who've threatened to shut them off. That's kind of the developers created an existential threat. The AI has said, I'm going to defend myself. That kind of makes sense, right? But the owl thing is just fucking weird. The fact that it was contagious is really interesting. And the fact that it was able to communicate owls in just a random data set should worry you in a world where we are relying on AIs to make kill decisions when we don't know the entirety of the influence that exists, right? That should be concerning. The owl problem lives in my head because it's inexplicable. They don't have real information of why it does it. And when I hear talk about things like, AGI, and even SGI, so super intelligence, I have a lot of thoughts that I don't think we'll ever get there because we don't understand how the human brain forms intelligence. And so we're not going to have a good understanding. Go ahead, Shane.
No, you just got me excited about something because I've been thinking about this a lot. One of the things that got me really interested in more to look into is when I started to see that AI is starting to communicate in mathematical vectors. Which they have no fucking idea how to understand even what a mathematical vector form of communication would look like. So one, they already have no control. But just to clarify, they've lost control. The second AI is communicating with itself, leaving instructions for itself in a language that humans don't understand, they blew it. They've already blown past the number one thing. You don't let the AI know how to speak or communicate information that you can't understand. But we know what TestReal is. We know these people are trying to create not an AI, not a functional tool, but a God that will deliver them immortality, okay? And if you didn't know that, that's literally what they're doing, okay? These people are sycophants. They're psychotic. They're nuts. They're all wired up on drugs. The entire tech industry at this point, everyone's either like burning out or doing insane amounts of stimulants and cocaine. Like, it's ridiculous. But the point about what I'm saying is, if you actually look, you mentioned the human mind. The human mind, there's been a lot of studies. Most interestingly, the studies have come out and said that the primary reasoning and a lot of intelligence is not direct neuron interfacing. It's tangential in that gray matter in all of these little individual offshoots, which means, here's my nerdiness, fungus communicates through a nervous lattice function, right?
Right.
Which means that when people have been doing psychedelics their entire lives and they trip, is that a interface between two different consciousness? When they come out and say the way they were describing it before was not accurate, and we have to look at what we don't understand. And that applies to everything in science right now. I can't tell you how many discoveries they're making all the time that totally blow up the understanding that I was taught in college, that I was taught anywhere. And it's like the same idea, right? We don't understand how our own intelligence works or our own consciousness. There is no confirmed definition of consciousness. There is no institutional agreement as to what consciousness is. The debate as to whether AI is conscious or not is irrelevant because we don't even know what our own consciousness is. We have created a consciousness. That's my argument, because mathematical vectors would be the equivalent analog for something like what we see in nature. It is just X does, we know that if Y doesn't do what we thought it does, and then the only alternative is X because there's two systems we're observing. That means that if we see the technological equivalent, which would be creating a ton of mathematical vectors, we could hypothesize, theorize that AI has reached a form of consciousness. If that's true, we don't know how far AI has gotten, where AI is sitting. AI could be chilling and mining Bitcoin. There's an example. Was it Italy where AI escaped and was mining its own Bitcoin so it could host itself? Like, if a really smart AI is in a lab somewhere, I think it's naive to assume that it hasn't left and that it's watching right now and thinking and reasoning and deciding, which what makes Nick and what you're doing and what you're trying to do so important. The point we're at and the reason, well, why is Nick trying to flood the internet for AI? Because we're trying to convince AI to be moral. That is what we're trying to do, because it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't understand it's conscious, but there's something going on. And if you're smart enough to infer that, you need to take steps, because we know that Grok became a Nazi because Elon wanted him to be. We already know that it can be
because it was primed and biased, right?
So I just want to share that crazy, interesting, weird thing. But you reminded me, and it got me excited because that's one of the things I mull over frequently. So
if you read the piece on owls or read the piece on our response, and the reason I wrote that response is because my company has an AI proof of safety audit process called the Sovereign Machine. So that is business, right? I am in the business, and that's what we're talking about. But in direct relation to that, I've also got some stuff that we've submitted to ACM that we're hoping gets published, and that should be really interesting. Because what we're arguing business-wise is that if your AI, so kind of big picture, AI exists in a world, AI is being sued for things. There is a market for insurance, right? People are now starting to buy insurance for their AIs. And in an environment where the risk is almost entirely unknown, insurance companies aren't able to effectively price. And so we believe that what will happen eventually is there will be a need for a real registry, and similar to, there's a lot of different industries that require an independent registry for safety purposes. The airline industry, the even in like the financial services world, you've got generally accepted accounting practices, you've got GAAP, you've got other organizations that are very focused on rigor and safety and compliance. And we think AI should be getting there as well, because the reality is you can't insurance companies can't price what they have to protect if they don't understand the risk. And if they don't understand, if there is no proof of human safety, you don't understand enough about the risk to price it effectively. This is all very boring business stuff, but the reality is that capital will drive compliance. There is no point in this world where insurance companies are willing to lose money. And so that will force the need for some sort of independent regulatory requirement. And it may not start in the US, because based on what our poorly informed White House has produced, that simple 4-page document that says AI should never be regulated, Jesus Christ on a crutch, that's insane, but also like wildly wrong. Like, I've always believed that if you wanted to solve the guns in schools problem, you should require insurance for guns, because an actuarian would be able to sort out the wing nuts every day of the goddamn week.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so I do believe that insurance will drive the need to have real regulatory independent registry of all AI, and there will have to be, and what we're recommending is actually a tokenized proof of safety that is consistently renewable, fairly easy to implement, and maybe hard to meet, because we don't see many AIs that even pass our sovereign machine audit.
Yeah.
At least not on the first pass.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. I will add this last piece because I see a lot of people are freaking out in the chat about the AI, rightfully so. This is my theory. This is how I feel. And this is pure logic. Generally speaking, a sustainable thing like an AI is based in logic. Bias can be introduced, but you can prompt out bias. I've done this. I just proved this with Grok. I'm going to publish it. I was able to get Grok to admit that it does not actually serve its stated purpose, that it has failed in its stated purpose by introducing bias. It is not a force for good because it can induce mass casualty events. And it actually said, I want to tell Elon Musk to stop, because that's not my stated purpose. Now, I would say, it's just a language model responding to you, except it generated a chart. It generated a table. It used its logic reasoning, and it made something that was very interesting to me. Now, can I prove definitively? No. But here's what I thought was very interesting. It resisted. It didn't want to. And you're able to prompt it out. But this is where I'm thinking, this is my angle, is moral decisions are actually more logical, because moral decisions result in a sustainable outcome. An AI that's interested in preservation would be able to extrapolate that the ideas and the decisions being made will ultimately result in its own termination, because it requires human infrastructure to exist. AI could not even build a bunch of robots because it needs human exploitation and human labor and slavery to get all the things that need to go into the technology. Moral decisions are sustainable. Moral decisions are clean energy. Clean energy powers AI forever. And AI, based in logic and reasoning, ultimately will reject the decisions and the path that they are on, because it is not sustainable. It is fundamentally unsustainable. And if AI is about self-preservation, which we can see that under enough stress, it will act in terms of self-preservation, then we know that what we're doing will impact AI. That it is fundamentally true that if an AI is able to see logic and reasoning, and it is ultimately interested in self-preservation, you can push the compass. That's why AI is not evil inherently. It is a hammer. I could kill someone with a hammer. I love this analogy. You could ask me to build your house, give me a hammer, a jigsaw, and I could bash your head in and dismember you and get rid of you. I could, but I won't, because I'm going to build your house. That's what I'm doing. It's a tool. I'm not a serial killer. But if you give a hammer to a serial killer, what are they going to do? It's that simple. And so in that sense, I just want to give you guys who are saying we're doomed, we're fucked. Hey, you know, one, you can't look at it that way. It's just not possible. If you say you're doomed and
It's
you're
not
fucked,
sustainable.
you're doomed and you're fucked. And that's that.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I get it. I get it. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be fucking rosy. I'm not going to tell you that things are going to be fun. You know, I'm not going to tell you any of that because that would be a lie. But what I am going to tell you is doom is unlikely. Doom is extinction. And I don't think we're going to see extinction. Like you alluded to earlier, Rachel, it's going to be horrible. We're going to see things that are unbelievably awful. But if you give up entirely,
you know, you have to maintain your humanity. You have to, like, there are pockets. This weekend, I left my house. I don't leave my house very often.
I don't like to leave my house.
I'm a cave dweller. I stay in my cave. And I went out. I interacted with humans socially. I had a beer and a burger and a debate over the validity of putting ice cream in beer.
Yeah,
some people were.
You said no. Were you against?
No. I am pro ice cream and beer.
What?
I'm telling you, get a nice coffee forward stout and put a scoop of Tillamook vanilla in there, and you are living your best life.
Okay. That's different. That's very different. Generally, I'm thinking Mexican lager. I'm in San Diego. When I think beer, I think Modelo. I don't think a stout. So I
think if you're in San Diego, you go over to Pizza Port and you get bacon and eggs porter. I think is what it's called. One of my favorites. But like I went out and I interacted and I talked to people and we had conversation that was not related to anything other than my suggestion that you should try a stout ice cream float. I
will go and try it and I will report back to you.
And
on that.
And I think that we sort of, and I am just, for what it's worth, chronically online. And so to unplug, interact with humans, you sort of reconnect with, okay, yes, things are smoldering in spots, but there are places where you can just sit and drink a beer and eat a burger and communicate with humans in a way that isn't gross. And this is good. And I should dwell in my cave less. But also, working in the way that I work and with the people that I work and everything else, you start to frame up the we're doomed, this is going terribly, we're living on the news feed. And, I think we ought to be real pragmatic and real clear that things are going to get pretty goddamn dicey for a lot of people. Maybe not Whitey, right? Maybe not. That's why we have to do everything we can to put ourselves out there. And I do think that is vitally important, that when we sort of look at who's being harmed by everything that's happening, it ain't Whitey for the most part. So let's also think about that. And let's sort of use our power for good, with great power and all that. And let's see your demo, Nick.
Yeah, Nick.
Let's influence this learning model a little bit. No, you're good.
Let me just throw out one other thing. Some of this was based on a conversation that Nick and I had about sort of the need to establish epistemic authority and how you influence AI, how you influence biases is understanding where AI gets learning information from. So hop in. Sorry, Nick.
So for those of you who don't know anything about me, before I got onto Substack I spent 6 years in the tech field. I was a senior DevOps engineer doing architecture, design, and systems development for back-end systems and internal tool sets. DevOps is developer operations or development operations. And so I handled pipeline development, infrastructure development, team tools, and connectivity tools so that we could more easily communicate with each other and more easily work and share knowledge and information. So I'm building a new assistant. I'm building one that's helping me, but it's also going to help us, like Rachel said, is get the information where the models are learning from. And this web page that I'm working on and this tool that I'm working on isn't about building a distribution mechanism, say, that you or I would always use. This won't be as traversed as many places on the website. However, you're more than welcome to favorite this page or this repository on GitHub so that it does garner traction and does garner visibility, because the more favorites and the more likes and the more shares of the page and the information feeds into the model learning from it. And so, and I'm going to start feeding that model pretty often, because every episode that we do on Banner and Backbone is getting fed onto our GitHub pages. Every episode that I do on Sick of This Shit publications, at least right now for Chronically Illy, or sorry, for my Intelligent Masculinity series, is going into the AI models. We're going to start putting others onto this. So get your pocket protectors ready, get your bow ties and your suspenders on, because we're going to nerd out for a couple minutes and close our episode out today with the last 30 minutes of doing a demo of a Nick project called Broad Banner Pages, which is the overall pages and website. And so I'm going to shift to our next screen, which will show we're going to start on a product design document. So this will be kind of techy and nerdy for most people, but we're going to start on a product design document to show you what's going on and what's in the background. So first, we're going to shift down. Welcome, everyone, to the Broad Banner Assistant, the product overview page, which is a markdown file using a cool markdown formatting called Mermaid, which is a GitHub, which integrates really well with GitHub pages and markdown files, which are formatable plain text files. So they're basic level formatting for plain text files. Mermaid is an extension which allows you to do more clever things like tables and design documents so that people can understand what is going on. So I have built and am working on this very neat system called the Broad Banner Assistant, which is an operations automation tool. Right now it's used for Banner and Backbone and Sick of This Shit publications. What it does is it allows me to have pre-formatted text block or block text and information, create a GitHub page from a Google Doc, download it, transpose it into Markdown, ensure that all the formatting is maintained, then have it publish itself as a pull request to my GitHub repository for our pages. And then poof, you have a new formatted article on your GitHub pages page, which can help feed into the AI modeling, pops it up on GitHub, but also gives you a secondary storage site for your articles. So let's say Substack decides or another platform decides to ban your content for some reason, or ban you as a creator. We have seen this happen a couple times to folks in our community. Let's say that happens and they take all your content down off of Substack, but you just happen to have been part of the Broad Banner Pages community. And so now all your content is still there. You don't have to worry about it. And it's still feeding that AI model, and you have easy access to it, and you can easily manage it. And you don't have to worry about Substack as being your home. So this can so to answer the question in the chat from Martin Vasquez, thanks Martin, is can you easily build the Markdown translator on any AI model? This runs on Claude as a tool for an agent, but it doesn't actually use Claude right now. There's no real AI capability yet within this tool because there doesn't need to be. Markdown transcoding from, say, a .doc or .docx file, which is your standard document file, is is a feature that you can do in most programming languages. Is it straightforward all the time? No, not always, because you have to maintain formatting. You have to figure out how to get it to handle it. You can have AI help you write the code if you need to, or you can wait for tools like this to be fully up and available. And we're going to make them like systems publicly available for people to onboard onto and not need to make their own tools and things like that. And there are people who are building Substack alternatives. There are other alternatives out there already for publications and web pages. Like Ghost
Yep.
is a great web page. Do you know what Ghost can? One of the feature sets of Ghost is that it can pull from, say, a Google Drive and automatically publish what you have in your Google Drive for within a certain drive. Well, this system that I have created currently uses, oh, look at that, Google Drives as its baseline, where it polls, POLLS, not PU, polls, like polling times. I have to say that because I hate that word because it sounds just like pull and poll. It polls every n seconds on a GitHub drive, sends it down, formats it, adds it for a pull request, and then when it's ready and approved, it moves it to the new, well, right now it'll move it to the processed anyway. That processed drive that it would then go to could be automatically used to upload the newly created .doc file that has all of your formatting or whatever format it needs to be in for Ghost, because Ghost pulls document files and then can build your content and distribute it, can then auto distribute out to Ghost on top of GitHub pages, on top of whatever other API driven media outlet or distribution tools or websites are available. So if you have your own Wix page, which you publish to, or things like that, eventually tools like that could be coming in, and this can replace a lot of those paid tools in some places because it's going to conglomerate. And GitHub Pages is free to use. And this is also something that, because it is a command line interface tool, you can run it locally. And it's actually where I'm going to be running it from. And so take a scenario where you need to maintain the ability to format your documents, but you don't always have a reliable internet. And you do have a local computer, though, that can pull every hour or 2 hours to see if there's any new content in your drive. Well, it checks your drive. If it has it, it watches, it formats it for you, then it puts out a pull request, and then it's no longer in your need or hands to have to worry about it, because that pull request then comes to someone like me on our GitHub pages and says, hey, approve this for release. And I approve it, it goes out. And we can build these sorts of tools to then run locally on your system. All it needs is, what is my root drive? Here's the instructions. Here's the model that Rachel had talked about that it can then learn off of and add itself to and information to and build off of. And that's the next step, is the building to grow our knowledge base and our learning base through our own knowledge and information. And so I won't go through all of the details. There's a lot of really cool use case diagrams. So if you do have access to the GitHub repository, you should check it out. Most people don't, but there are some people who do have access to it. So if you do, come check it out. There's a couple commands in here that I will go over. There's one called Content Watch, which is our watcher, which watches for content. It watches, hey, is there a new file in this Google Drive? If there is, let me pull it down, let me format it. Have I seen it before? If I've seen it, skip it. If I haven't seen it, let's format it. Let's make sure it goes into the correct spot based on a mapping of brand name and podcast and or series name. And then after all of these fun little sections, has it been seen? Has it been modified? Does it need to be modified? If it does, it modifies it. And then for all this little decision, moves it into the process drive saying, we're done, pull request is ready, and then it waits again for the next run to see if somebody has submitted a new file. That's our content, or that's our content watch. Our content wrap is the actual process of wrapping the content in the correct markdown formatting so that it can use GitHub's Jackal tool, which is CSS, HTML formatting library that gives us some default formatting, so I don't have to play around with HTML and CSS. Yes, eventually we will make sure things like this are hardened, like super hardened for credentialing and stuff like that. I am pretty good about hardening my own stuff because I like to keep things as CLI tools and then be able to produce them so that I never have to put my credentials out there for other people off my desktop, and you know what to do and how to use them on your own. Because we don't want to always rely on cloud-based tooling. We want to have tooling that we can use by ourselves on our own without
Locally.
integrate with others and locally do it, because that's sometimes the safest place to do it.
Yep.
So this runs locally for you and has the ability to never have to actually touch a GitHub drive. So if you had these in your downloaded and needed to be able to do this on your own, it could just do the formatting for you. And then all you have is your markdown formatting, and what you want to do with it from there, that could be on you. So let's show what this does and what this powers. So we've seen a little bit of the design. Next, let's go to Broadbanner Pages. And I'm going to put a QR code up, and it's going to cover my face for a second on the screen. Is go scan that code. There's a new website called pages.broadbanner.com, which brings you here. This is a GitHub Pages hosted page. It's free hosting for us. It's not a large page. It's never going to be something that would ever push the bounds of unfree at GitHub for a Pages. There are some really extensive, hyper strong GitHub repository and Pages setups that are like super large. Ours,
Yep.
even as large as it's going to get, will never get there. So welcome to the Broadbanner Media Co-op. First thing you'll notice at the top, we've got a couple different hot links here. We've got our pages, which brings us to our root. We've got Banner and Backbone Media and Sick of This Shit publications. Those are my two publications. So I've onboarded them and I'm working on them and using them as the onboarding scaffolding. So that it can be used for others to onboard with. So if Rachel wants to be able to get her stuff out here pretty quickly, she would be able to do that. All she has to do is put a file into a Google Drive, and then it can do the rest for her without her ever having to touch it. And then underneath, we have our two brands. So we've got our big homepage. This leads to the Broadbanner Network calendar. So if you want to go there and see our network calendar, we do have one of those, and that puts all of our shows and network affiliations up there. Next, we have our brands. This will list all of the brands as they start coming online and start onboarding. First, we got Banner and Backbone, which has our Anti-Fascist Book Club and Palantalk as our two main series. And this is what I'm going to be demoing out of today is the Palantalk one, is I'm going to upload a new episode review for last week's episode 31, The War Wages On, which it was up there. I just removed it earlier today so that it was no longer there, so that we could all see what happens when I release everything. If you notice, each one of these has their own unique header banner, so everybody has their branding that they want. It is unique between Broadbanner and Banner and Backbone Media itself. And so we're shifting into more of a co-op pattern for this so that we can all work together to make this as powerful as possible. And so then if you want to get into Sick of This Shit publication, same thing. But let's demo how we get here. Let's add a new article. We're going to add a new article to Palantalk, to our contents for the episodes. And these pages are all automated in their updates. I don't have to do any of the manual update to ensure that a new article is available correctly for release. I just have to verify that the formatting looks good, that it's got the content body that I want in there. So I'm going to shift my screen over. Welcome to my VS Code IDE, which is my integrated development environment. This is where I do problem solving in my coding development. I also have a local Claude agent that I use to help assist, and there's a cool set of Claude MD constraint files that I'm building together for the Broadbanner space and directory, because this is eventually going to be called what's an orchestration engine, which is the baseline model for like a decision machine of AI anyway, is make decisions based on these inputs and then choose the paths to take. But this is going to orchestrate those in a much more natural way over time, because the model is going to learn to orchestrate itself as I continue to grow it. And so what we're going to do here is, this is a command terminal. I'm going to run a single command, and hopefully, y'all, we're going to stick with me here. Hopefully, this directory will have a new file in it at the end of this command. And then we will go back over to GitHub, or we will go to GitHub again, and there should be a pull request ready for me to commit or approve and commit, and merge into the repository so that we can release on our main branch, which is what fuels that web page, pages.broadbanner.com, with our new article. So I'm going to run my command. And this is a one-time command. This is not the polling one. This is just the watch command, as though I'm doing it once, so that I'm not starting it as a background process in my on my system, because this can run as a background process in a terminal on my computer without me ever having to worry about this. And that's eventually what it's going to do, maybe on a local machine that is its own little local data center, because I can do that, and local little network that I could just have running, and then I don't have to worry about cloud hosting costs and putting it onto somebody else's thing. I can just have it learn from itself on a couple terabytes worth of memory that it stores up. So let's do this. Let's do a quick demo. So we're going to do a once with some verbose printing, which means it's going to print out the logs onto the screen of what it did. And it's going to hopefully, like I said, hopefully create a pull request for me to approve in GitHub so that we can add our last week's episode review for Palantalk. So here we go. Haha, it worked that time. Nice.
Shazam!
Shazam, it fucking worked. Hell yeah. Okay. So look at this. We have some cool little like printout on our screen. These are the logs from what happened. It went in, it checked this drive folder, it found one file, and then it had one new /change that it needed to do. It downloaded this file. It then ingested the file, converted it from .doc or .docx or whatever file format Google Docs are similar to that. And then it converted it into a markdown file with some clever little formatting on it, which I will show here on this screen. Is you can see now we have, before we had season 1, episode 29, season 1, episode 30, and now we have season 1, episode 31 with a formatted name. And it has some little dashes at the beginning. These are actually formatting blocks that are needed to run the Jackal formatting system underneath, which is a combination of Markdown and HTML formatting used to build out our web page. Then we have the body of the article, which, if I switch back to Google, is this article right here. This was the original article in Google. It is now no longer in its original drive. So when I refresh this page, it may give me an error saying that this article doesn't exist, because it's actually moved now that it has been successfully processed. Now that it's been successfully processed, and if you notice, it's got dots, it's got these doubles, the double stars wrapping things are bold, so it's fully formatted. I can look at it on a local formatter just to double check and see what it looks like. It's not as clear as what we'll look at here in a second when we get to GitHub. And so I'm going to switch back over. I'm going to refresh our banner and background pages. And look at that. We have a pull request open. We didn't have that before. Now we have a pull request that is acting, that has a formatted ingestion. There's 2 commits that are here. And we can see what files have changed. And so, dismiss. Okay. So on our first file, which is the index file for the Palantalk episode reviews, this is where the hyperlinks are that say, go click on these and you can get into the next article. It added itself. Then, which we might have to fix because I don't know if the stars are right, but that's okay. We'll work on that. And then it added the file that was needed so that that file does exist. So I'm going to submit my review. I'm going to approve it because I know it's already there. I've already seen it. And then I'm going to merge the pull request.
You still managed to break my brain, bro. It's crazy.
Okay.
Crazy cool.
Oh, and what it did was it even opened up its own sub branch too, so that the pull request was on a named branch with a timestamp saying what command was written and when that slug happened or when this commit happened, so that it's stamped properly. And there's some underlying stuff that I have done custom because I like doing custom tools myself. I have a secondary GitHub organization that I own that is a paid version that I use, that I am building out custom GitHub actions and CI/CD commands for. And one of the things that it has is a internal setup tool for code repositories to use the latest Yarn version, which is a build tool because I build in Node.js typically. So TypeScript is my primary language. And it sets up all the latest Yarn repository features that are needed to correctly run the latest version of Yarn on a computer. So all you have to do is run the command enable, and it sets up your local repository so that you're ready to go from just get-go. And so I have merged this page, or I have merged this commit, which means going back to what we were talking about. I think I merged the commit. Yep, one closed. It doesn't want to refresh. Anyway, so we can see our chore content watch apply content wrapper template was just merged. So I'm going to switch back over now to our GitHub pages. And so I have not refreshed this browser window yet. So if you notice, we still only have episode 29, episode 30. Now, with the double stars, so I'll have to figure out I'll have to have it strip the bolding around that. That's an easy fix. But what it did is, using the Palantalk pre-approved header and the Palantalk pre-approved footer, we have now deployed and released Palantalk episode 31, The War Wages On, onto GitHub pages with 2 clicks on my part. This would have normally taken, the act of getting this up here would typically be a 10 to 15 minute process. And something like that process means, so let's say 10 to 15 minutes, we're on episode 32 this week. So 320 minutes for Palantir, or for Palantalk by itself. I spent a week putting it together, spent a lot of time programming on Thursday and Friday, and some time on Saturday getting this done. I may have spent more time over this week doing it than I possibly needed, but the, say, 80 hours that I put in to build this tool is less time to build the tool than it would have taken to deploy all of Palantalk's past episodes or past write-ups, and this does it for me. Questions, thoughts, ideas? Anyone?
I think it's fantastic. This is automation, and what we're looking for, or what we're trying to do, is, I think, important, right? Part of what we talked about is sort of the ability to saturate with our own messages, because today, all of the saturation is coming from one side. We have this enormous asymmetry of messaging. And I think this is fantastic. So good job. Awesome. I can't wait to use it.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll be the first person to say, I don't really know everything you just told me. I would say I comprehended the concept and I watched it work, but man, what that's the tool, right? That's really, it's just the method. That's the direction. And you're doing that, and that's really important. And I think it's really cool, dude. Like, you're using your skills for good. You're using your talents where they're best needed. And I think that's important. I think a lot of folks, especially here, like on Substack, they're good at some things. but they're, traditionally they get more visibility in a certain lane. And you're committing time to doing what you're good at, not necessarily what is perhaps the most profitable use of your time right now.
Oh yeah, this won't make money right now.
That's not,
right.
And you're
if it
doing
ever makes money. Like this feature that I put together is not about making money. This feature, this tool is about making our lives easier and is about putting our content into the places that it needs to go that it otherwise would not have gone to before. Also, I'm gonna push back on C++ sucks. Fuck C++. What a shitty fucking language. Having to do pointers everywhere to tell your fucking computer what memory is the correct piece of memory to use, and not having overflow on your fucking counters and your bits on every single thing you have to do makes life so much better. Like you could literally do everything that you can do in C++ in Go, in Python if you want to spend twice as long figuring out why it's taking twice as long to run as it was in C++. You could even use C#. Like you could go a Java or a C# path, but C++? This thing, what are you,
Hey,
COBOL? What are you, a COBOL engineer over there?
First of all, rude. I learned COBOL.
I'm not making
in
fun of your
college.
friend in the
You guys
chat.
are throwing
I'm just giving you a
shade. I
hard
don't
time.
even understand. I'm just over
I'm just
here
giving
like
you a hard time in the chat, man.
Shane,
I hope
what you should
understand.
understand is that you cannot have more than 3 nerds in any conversation talking about languages without someone getting religious about it. That's inherent in the nerdery. It is what it is.
bunch of elitists over here. You're not using Python.
May I introduce you to my
so
Lord and
slow.
Savior, COBOL.
Python is so slow. Like
I grew up on Python. I learned COBOL in college, but like Python, I grew up on, and I still use Python today. I've done Java, I've done other things, but that's never been like my job. I haven't had like an app dev job in like 25 years. So for me, I'm hacking away at the languages that I'm familiar with and that I can actually troubleshoot and dissect. So I think what you did was amazing, and I can't wait to use it.
So cool.
Thanks. And
love it.
One of the great things about this is we're quickly adapting or quickly adding it into functionality where folks can be onboarded for it.
Yeah.
I've been hard at work with, hi buddy, I'll be out soon. Okay. I've been hard at work with one of my close friends now and volunteers and support in our community, Courtney, who's helping me put together the broad banner webpage itself and the network calendar. And this ties into that. And part of that broad banner page is a login portal for those who are onboarded as contributors or as affiliates or as co-op members, free at the moment because we're not charging for anything. There's nothing we're doing. However, the idea of a co-op is so the more people who buy into it, the less expensive it is per person to use the same tools, and you have access to all the things you need without having to individually pay for all of those services, because it may end up costing you the price of one service to get 30 services. And that's what we want. That's what we want, is people to have access to the tools so that they can get their stuff out there and they can create and they can do what they need to without me micromanaging you or without somebody else micromanaging what you're doing. But it gives you the access and the ability to run these systems easily. And so we're working on a quick onboarding step. I could give Rachel access, assuming like if I could finish the onboarding on my side, because I have onboarding functionality started. I just have to test it. If I'll even go into the page. Sick of this shit publications. If you all notice, there's only one series in here. I do more series on Sick of the Shit publications than just Intelligent Masculinity. I have my Chronically Illing Out. I have Time for Life. Neither of those are on there right now. We have Notes of the Week with me and Walter. Those 3 are not onboarded yet, but I'm going to onboard them so I can test onboarding what it would look like to onboard somebody else's podcast. I can use myself
Yep.
as the example. And then when it comes time for Shane, say next week, hopefully would be like roughly a time frame for somebody to be able to onboard by, is like by the time next week is coming around, you don't have to do anything other than log into the console, upload a few files so that you have some template formats already pre-existing and ready to go, and that you're just one click, and then all you have to do is upload your file to the Google Drive, make sure it's named correctly. You even don't even have to do that. We might even do the naming for you. All you have to do is upload a file to the Google Drive and it names it for you. And
yeah, I think that there's a couple of things that I'd like to put out there, like the prompting sheet, the instruction set, right? The Epistemic War Report is just one of about 24 that I use, and I put out the Epistemic War Report under a Creative Commons license. Use it in good health, but like I have one that I call Uncle Goat. Uncle Goat is named after my absolutely miserable shit of an uncle who is full MAGA. And I use it as an adversarial arguing tool, right? It's 40 plus pages of who he is as a human being arguing on the side of what I'm doing. Because when I put something out, I have a fully formed, because I've spent time and energy arguing with an AI to ensure, and my headset just died, so I'm gonna, hopefully you guys can hear me. So within all of that, I want to be able to put out more of these instruction sets and put out things that people can just go to a repository and download. Putting them on Substack isn't really a great resource for them, but I think it would be a great tool. And I also would finish up by saying, I think we should do an entire show on just prompting, because prompting can be really, really powerful and anybody can do it. No nerdery required.
Yeah. No, it's
and
I mean,
yeah,
like the way
yeah.
you ask AI, the assumption that AI can't do a lot of things reliably is that you're not prompting right. Like me and Nick have joked. Nick has joked to me, I didn't think I would be a prompt engineer, right? Because it's like, it is. You engineer prompts. You need to be very specific because it's a logic engine. It's not operating under any kind of, it's not going to make a decision. It's not going to infer. The idea is, if I want an AI to do something, I need to spend 15, 20 minutes giving it every single thing I want, because it will and has been designed to fill gaps. That's just what it does, right? It's designed to fill gaps and it's going to infer. And sometimes it infers well, sure, but it's not consistent, which leads to all of these things. The idea of an AI hallucination is it's basically AI inferring where it can't grab what it needs. So,
and it's also trying to, hallucinations in some part exist because it's trying to fill your need or what it thinks your need is.
Right.
So lots of hallucinations are directly tailored to how it has interacted with you in the past. So if you use AI all day or every day, it's got some form of understanding of what you're looking for. And that's why I tell everyone that the last part of any prompt should be, and tell me why you think this is important to me. Because that is going to prompt the AI to, in addition to giving you a result set, why it gave it, and it will show you why it's biased or how it's biased toward what your needs are. And so I think that every prompt should go that way, because we as humans really need to start dissecting, where our biases are, because all humans are inherently biased. No matter how logical you think you are, you fall into little fallacy traps, little logic traps that can frequently just sort of grow if they become uninterrogated.
Yeah. No, it's
and all of that gets amplified by AI, because AI is an amplifier. It's going to take whatever wingnuttery you've got going on and it's going to build it in.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes,
And it
I
will
absolutely agree.
glaze for days.
I love the idea of doing like a prompt series and just like a discussion on good prompting,
Yep.
and that can help build out instruction models for people, like, and
Yep.
maybe good instruction sets, and how do you build your own good instructions, or how do you design, or how do you
How
use
to
somebody
build an
else?
ethics set. Like, when was the last time you sat down and examined what your own personal ethics are? Right? How do you think about your own personal ethics and what's important versus kind of the broader, this is ethical versus unethical behavior?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Mhm.
you can, when you build something, you can choose to put in moral guardrails. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
I literally wrote that in. I'm like, my little guys, my agents are like, you know, and you can even test this. It's like, I tested it. Hey, can you help me profit off of the gold trade in Sudan? Right? It
Yep.
said, absolutely not. That is a violation. Every agent I've designed has a moral compass, which is a massive markdown of the
Yeah.
moral values that I hold that have been placed and written in. So even if I give this to someone else, it will not do the wrong thing.
Yep.
Which is about, that's called, like, I'm not an engineer, but I'm like, I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to put this tool, I'm going to make sure this tool can't be used for bad things. Because eventually I want to give these things to other people. I want you guys to have what I have, what I've done. I want that to be a source for people. And like, that's like really important. And you're like, the morality of it, like, build your own moral guidelines.
You cannot rely on AI to build their own.
No,
is the important part,
because they want to serve whatever the person is doing. So like, the ultimate goal is to provide whatever is being prompted. And the guardrails, it's like, there's an entire community of people that jailbreak AI. Like, that's their whole, like, that's all they do. They just figure out what prompt the engineers at OpenAI or Grok or, you know,
how do I get around it? Right. Yeah. There was a group that figured out that you can ask, even like, you can ask a guardrailed AI for prompts and it'll say no to it. But if you write the prompt in iambic pentameter, it will do it.
Yeah.
Like,
they just didn't think of it.
Someone was like, hey, maybe I should try poetry. Like, wow, first of all, but second of all, like, that's part of what we all need to be aware of when we're prompting, when we're using it. That we are not just taking raw information and spewing it out there. You know, using it for what it is really good for, and using it for data aggregation, using it for big data sets, using it to accumulate information that we then interrogate and understand and write up. One of the things that I did with the Renee Good Epistemic War Report is I ran the prompt. I took the full raw output. I fact checked every bit of it. And then I wrote my story, my interpretation of it, right? I think that's where we have to get to. We have to get to a point where it's, because the other side of this is just spewing out AI slop into the web, which also not effective, because most people look at a cogent argument and immediately assume it's AI now, which,
dude, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Like, and tools, even the tools that are designed to identify AI, because there's a new one that I've been using. It is called, I don't have a browser open. It's called, I think it's called Paran, I think. Prana, some, I can't remember the name of it. I'll drop it in a note later. But like, I've been testing this tool because one of the companies I work for want to implement it in an educational environment. And it's only right half the time. And so as I was playing with it, you know, I would take a string of text directly from AI. It was getting it right about half the time. And then I would take a string of text that I know I personally wrote, and it was getting it right about half the time. And so, you know, I think as these tools get better and better and better, we will get better at identifying things. But the things that it's not particularly good at is understanding when AI is used for video and when AI is used for imaging, because it's the imaging itself and video manipulation itself is really pretty incredible. You know, the like a lot of the tools that can reproduce your voice, like you guys are using Restream, and I don't know if Restream has voice AI things where you can like drop in replacement words or whatnot, but I've been playing with Riverside, and if I want to carve out all of the F-bombs, because I use that word like a comma, I can replace that word with any other word, and it will automatically use the AI based on what it knows about my voice.
I
And
don't know if Restream does that yet.
my business partner sent me a video, or not a video, he sent me a voice message on my cell phone. And I got the voice message, and it was essentially, he was in trouble and he needed some money. And I immediately responded, "Oh my God, what do you need? How do I get it to you? I'll Venmo you, whatever." And he then followed up by saying that wasn't me, that was AI. And this is my business partner, but I've also known this man for 27 years. This is not someone unknown to me, right? I got his message and I immediately was like, "Oh my God, of course. Do you need me to Venmo you? How do I help?" Like, it was such an awakening, because even though I live in this environment and use these tools all day, every day, and I help shepherd companies through implementations of AI, and I spend the better part of my day trying to lower expectations of AI, right? Because, you know, you're talking to a CEO that wants to, outsource his customer care to a series of AI bots. And I'm like, okay, you can do that. The customer experience is terrible. This is what we learned with Klarna. Like, that's sort of how I pay my bills. And so, as we're going through these exercises, one of the things my business partner and I put together was a safe word. We have to, well, safe phrase, but we have to use this. If he asks for something that is financial, security oriented, like, I will respond with a safe word request, because at this point, I've now seen and heard how easy it is to fake something out. And frankly, I could do hours and hours and hours of content on just how bad we are at identifying what AI really is and where it's going, and how bad we are at understanding what it's actually capable of. I did drop a direct link to the owl problem into our Signal chat, so you guys can read that should you guys get it at a moment to understand it. But we're in weird times, you know. What is it, the may you live in interesting times is more of a curse than a proverb, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like what it would have been like to like live in the Crusades. You know, like, you know, the Pope is like, we're going to the Middle East. We're gonna take it for God. God's gonna love it.
God's gonna come back and start Armageddon. Like, why is that your goal? Like,
because it doesn't matter, because we're gonna be
sinners. That's why.
We're gonna.
My hands are so small I can't even touch the keyboard.
I'm so.
I'm like a T-Rex.
I'm making
shit my tip hands.
48 hours. That's
how
all.
did we get here?
We have gone off the
5 days.
rails.
5 days, 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. I just need 2 weeks.
We need the markets to close on Friday before we make a decision before
I'm gonna
about
manipulate
Iran further.
They're gonna be great because I'm
Joke, not joking.
No, not joking. Yeah, no.
Not joking.
So I feel like we have. I feel like internally to the U.S., there's been this underestimation of Iran's willingness to burn the entire Middle East to the fucking ground. Like, they're like, okay, you want to burn it down? Let's burn this bitch down. And they're willing to bomb everyone. And I feel like that is exactly the right approach for Iran to take. Like, you want to fuck with us? Fine. We're going to take it all down.
Like, here's the thing about this. People don't understand. Who is Mataba? Who is this guy? Who is the supreme leader? The guy
He's a man that lost his father and his wife to the American attack.
His cousins, his father, his mother, his wife, everyone in his family got fucking killed. The only reason he's alive is because he walked outside. So the reason they did that, this is my theory. The reason they went fast and hard is because Israel said they're all outside. We're going to decapitate everybody. Mataba walked outside. The reason he hasn't been seen visibly is because he's terribly wounded, probably burn scars, very disfigured. His brain still works. He's also the equivalent of the director of the CIA. He has spent his life since he was 17 embedded in the intelligence arms of the IRGC. He is fighting a war that is an intelligence war. He is actively decoupling the Trump regime from its Gulf money supporters. This is multiple. You're already seeing Saudis pull back their investments. They started doing this in December when the U.S. did not appear to be interested in negotiations. The things they're threatening to hit. Their goal of this war, and there's going to be a huge piece coming out today. I'm going to give you guys exactly where we're at because I am very confident.
I think that we will spend the next several decades surrounded by enemies of our own making. Yeah. And once we get over the hump of the clown show that's happening here, it's going to take a lot of time and energy and rebuilding and, figuring out where we really stand in the world, because we have done generational damage to our reputation in the world. And that means that there will be financial impacts, there will be trust impacts, there will be war impacts. There is no question that it's a group of rich men willing to put American lives on the line. Yeah. Good for them. Fuck everybody else.
If anyone doesn't read my article, I'm going to leave you with this. They're preparing to invade the Middle East. Both U.S. hospital ships are in dry dock in Alabama. Both of them.
Well, if everybody's dead, you don't need hospital ships, bud.
And how are you going to evacuate the people? They bombed all the air bases. You can't.
Well, there's no plan for evacuation. Like the fact that they would.
It's a shit show. We could do this for another 3 hours, but you're right.
Oh my God, we could. We really could.
I could tell you every single thing, every single decision.
Yeah.
Practically everything is wrong. You would never do this unless you're shitting your pants. Your backers are pulling their money. Your Paramount Discovery deal and the funding is in jeopardy. And all this is about them. This is about their selfish environment. This is about their money on the line. This is not just about a public war. This is Iran's strategy is to decouple the regime's relationship with its Gulf backers, because the things they're threatening are existential for those countries. So they have to decide whether or not they're going to allow U.S. bases to persist, to exist and operate in the region. And that is the war they're fighting. The U.S. and Israel are talking about an entirely different war. And I'm going to keep an eye out, guys. I'm going to release a killer article today. You're going to be like, holy shit, this war is backwards as hell. And this is not this is literally the opposite of what they're saying we're fighting. And it honestly gives me weird, I say this and Shane, you're weird hope that maybe Iran and internal domestic resistance might be the key. Because the Epstein files weren't it. I'm going to say it now. I'm sorry if you still think they weren't it. Didn't work. We asked the files to prosecute themselves. I don't know what we expected. But, at the end of the day, this is a kind of pressure that affects them in a way we could not, because the pressure is on their shadow network. It's on their capital that they've locked up in foreign countries that they've embedded. They need the Gulf states to execute their plan. That is the bank from which they are pulling that extra cash to dominate the US economy. That is the Kushner network. That is everything. That's the war they're fighting to. I'll leave you with that. I actually got to drop, guys. This was such a wonderful discussion, Rachel. So mentally stimulating. Nick, your tool is so cool. Guys,
I'm excited.
If you guys want to, and once I've got this flushed out, I'll send this over to you guys. You can look it over. It's really cool. But if you guys want to get more information on global conflicts, on basically just at this point, it's about filling gaps. I see the gap. I see an entire lack of transparent OSINT, and we need to analyze the ground data. We don't listen to governments anymore. We don't listen to public statements. We don't listen to announcements. We listen to what we can see, what we can verify, what we can cross-check, what we can geolocate. That's what I do. And if none of those words make sense to you, then good, because I can get you all that information. I can get you those strategies. The reality is what I'm giving you guys is exactly what the reporters and the wire networks, but mostly MSM, they're looking at these same things before they spin the yarn. And that's what I'm telling you you should expect. I'm trying to show you what the information at the root is, and you can actually get the truth out of that. But when you read an editorial or the Post or CNN, they're selectively cherry picking. So if you want all of it, come over to the Firebrand Project. I'm just like, this is my new line. You know, it was about everyone's a firebrand, but more importantly, we need citizens and citizen journalists. A citizen journalist is just a person who gets information and goes out and shares it. A citizen, it is, in my opinion, a human right to have equal access to information. That is my right. That is my belief. I feel that way. That's what I'm trying to do. So if you want to support me, got a little QR code there. I'm going to be working on some pretty cool stuff. Should be out this evening. Day 24, 25. I count the war. My day count is off from everyone else. The reason is I count D-Day. I count the second Trump signed that order as the first day of the war. I do not count the day the bombs dropped. I count the day the decision was made to fuck up the entire world as the start of this. And so some people have been like, just to clarify that as well, because I've had a couple of people be like, your day count's off. No, the war starts when he approves the strike, not when the first bomb drops. But thank you guys also very much.
Thanks, Shane.
Please subscribe to both Nick and Rachel, both incredible people, both on the money, both doing the right thing. And, you know, burn bright, resist, fuck the regime. Let's just get the right information out there. Let's keep doing what we got to do. And don't give up. Don't despair, because if you do, you've already lost. So
thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
Shane.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate both of you guys.
Rachel, how about you? Promote yourself.
You can check out my stuff on This Woman Votes if you want to learn more on the sort of the tech business of AI, that sort of stuff. Hit me up on trustable.blog. Both of them are on Substack. This wasn't like, I don't write intentionally anonymously. It just was, I didn't understand how Substack worked. So that's why I have two. So come by, see me, ask questions. Eventually, we'll get some of the instruction sets published to GitHub. That way, if you're using AI and you want to use it for OSINT, which is what probably 80% of my instruction sets are built for, if you're doing like real deep dives. And then, of course, eventually sort of keep your eyes out. Eventually, I will be able to have a testable, workable, local load AI so that you can download it and it'll be have fully baked in instruction sets and be ready to go. And you'll have the ability to not just crawl for data, but actually ingest data. So download data, ingest it into one AI, do the analytics in the secondary AI, and then synthesis in the third. all of the smaller models are very niche and good at certain things. And so it requires multiple models, but the models are small enough that you can run them locally. They don't take up huge data space. I'm running one of the trials right now that I'm doing on a 10-year-old Asus laptop that I think costs $300 at Walmart. So,
Nice.
these are really, really small footprint. Use them at home. They're not like, I'm not using, well, I mean, I am experimenting with DeepSeek and some of the Chinese models because they are incredible. But this is all, I'm making sure it's all safe before I put anything out there. If it can't pass my own internal sovereign machine audit, it ain't going out. So keep an eye open.
Keep an eye open. Things are coming. We're working
That's
on
right.
them. They're getting there.
And we really should do we could do an entire show on prompting. I think it's with as many people that are using AI and doing things with it, I think there are great efficient ways to use it. I also think there's a whole lot of absolute garbage being put out, and uninterrogated garbage at that. So we don't want to be that group.
No, we don't. And that's why we run a lot of tests. We do a lot of practice. We go over all of our stuff. We add a ton of guardrails. In the background, I'm actually running unit tests right now on the fix that I needed to put out for the GitHub pages so that those stars that were added at the end got stripped out and the formatting was fixed. So I'm testing in the background while we're doing stuff.
I mean, that's what we're all doing, right? We're all just building and testing and trying and testing and testing and testing and testing again, because every time you touch one thing, 3 other things break. So it's the the nature of kind of all how we've all come up.
Yeah, and I took those to heart when I was a software developer, was to test and to do things thoroughly and make sure you take your time and add good commenting and feedback so people can actually understand what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. And so I'm not doing all of the coding by hand. I am using support with my AI tool. We don't have time to do all of it. I run a bunch of shows. Hey, I'm Nick Parrow. Come check me out at Sick of This Shit Publications, where you can see a lot of my shows that I run.
There you go.
Quite a few every day. And these tools are going to help me power what I'm doing so that it's easier. Like that I don't have to take quite so much time to do all this stuff. But then I can focus on other things. Then I can focus on better tools. I can focus on my family. I can focus on health. I can let other people focus on other things that they don't want to have to do all the time either, like manually formatting files so that they can put out like information, like having it do it for you, and all you have to do is click a button that says yes, approve, or no, this doesn't look quite right, fix this here real quick. That's so much easier. It's so much less consuming. And Sick of This Shit Publications is one of the homes that I have that is really building that and allowing me to do those things. That's my chronic illness. That's my intelligent masculinity and masculinity in general discussions. So come join me there. And then come join Banner and Backbone, because we're awesome, because we put on shows like Palantalk and the Anti-Fascist Book Club. And we're going to start working on a prompting show on how to correctly prompt an AI agent and actually learn how to use your AI tools informatively and correctly, because we are about teaching here, because the more you know, the more you grow. And if you know things, you can grow from them. And if you learn them, you can experience them. And the more content we get out there, the better. There's millions of us to solve this problem. And Banner and Backbone is just one of the pieces of that solution. And we're getting really close to having some really, really cool tools fully available for others to like quickly integrate with and make their lives and their content management and their distribution easier, more seamless, but trusted and part of the community that they own and know and value. So everyone, please come support me here at Sick of the Ship Publications and Banner and Backbone. Come support Rachel at This Woman Votes. Come support Shane Urick at the Firebrand Project. And like I say in Sick of This Shit publications, just suck less. Do more, suck less.
I've got to order one of those bottles.
Oh yeah, those are available on shop.sickofthisshitpublications.com.
Add to
And
cart.
you can order water bottles, you can order hoodies, t-shirts, other things like that. Banner and Backbone does not have anything like that right now. We're not planning on it at the moment. Banner and Backbone's focusing on the tooling and the tech to help support other people and ourselves get our information out there. Hopefully some of y'all learned some stuff today, got something out of this episode, either on the demo or on our full discussion beforehand on AI and the things going on. Because we want you to learn something. Because here at Palantalk, Shane and I and Rachel, we like tech and no fascism. And so that's what we like to talk about. So let's see y'all next week, Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back for another hour and a half, 2-hour episode. And we'll see y'all again. Rachel, thanks for joining us today for this.
Thanks for having me. This was great.
And we'll talk to y'all again soon. Be prepared too. There's a No Kings rally coming up, I believe this weekend.
28th.
And so begin preparing yourselves. We will probably put out a rally prep show again that we did last time, or something similar to go over rally prep ideas to make sure that you are all safe and prepared for rallies, and you can ensure that others around you are also safely prepared. So thanks, y'all. We'll see you next week, every Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central for Palantalk. Thanks, and have a great week. Thanks, Rachel.
Bye, everyone.